In this video, I want to take a look at how to create this little special effect here where I've basically had this special effects text appear with an explosion kind of behind it. And you can see that I'm going to have to work on that just a little bit, but if I do the preview there, you can see that it just kind of explodes into view, which is fun. And so what I wanted to show actually a couple of things here, because it's also helpful just to understand how Explaindio 2.0 works. So you can create your own effects and stuff like that. So in this particular thing, what I was looking for was the word special effects to sort of have that explosion behind it and appear out of that explosion or that spark. And I accomplished that pretty well here. And so I want to show you how I did that first here. So the first thing that I needed to do was, intuitively, I kind of wanted to be able to put a new scene and then put add an animation on it. But as we've seen in other videos, the timing of the frames here, if I put an animation on the first scene or whatever, it's going to play for that duration. So if that animation, say the explosion is about a second or a half a second, it plays before any text that I add to it. So I needed to have this kind of go on behind it. And so in order to accomplish that, we've looked at this in other videos. What I've done is I've gone and I put it in the background. However, this time I didn't do the scene background. Instead, I did the scene background image instead of scene background video. You see that it loops there, and that's not exactly ideal, except for that what I can do is I can kind of determine how long that is and just make sure that it doesn't last long enough in that scene to loop. And so I'm going to just go ahead and add a scene here to be able to see. Now if I wanted to take a look at that particular one, I've hit the wrong button there. I want to click on add flash animation here, and the nice thing is it does default to what I just last imported, so I'm going to import that again. I turn on don't sketch and I'm going to do add, and I'm going to close the canvas and come to the SWF tab, and I can come here and I can see how many frames it is. It's 19 frames. And so I know that I need to make sure that my animation doesn't last that long. I've got it at half a second, and half a second is 24 frames. A second is 24 frames. So it's only lasting for 12 frames, so less time than that. And so that's why this can work. So let's look now at what I did with the text in order to pull that off. I just took the text and I actually only made it last for 19 frames. I could boost that maybe a little. I like to maybe stick just a little bit below that, but I could be getting more of the full effect if I make it last that duration. And so what's really going on is the text is determining how long that lasts. Now, when I first added that text, it's going to add some time that I had to adjust. I had to go in here to the text, to, let's see, action before, that's right. Initially it added about 4 seconds here. I had to make sure and set it to nothing and set the duration to no time at all, so that it would do that animation that's on the canvas right here. So this lasts for 17 seconds underneath the amount of time. And then what I did was I just came back and I redid this just a little bit bigger in between the size that I have here. It's a little bit of a jump. I could probably, to make it smoother, I could make it smaller or something like that, or I could come in here and make this one, bigger, and then come over here and make that bigger to compensate. But in between those, it's almost, is it smaller? Yeah, it's smaller now. So if I do the preview here, you can see that what I've done is I've added that special effect. And actually, I added that extra thing there, so let's delete that. It just started to play there, so sometimes that it looped just a little bit extra, so I do need to kind of cut that off, and that's kind of why I've done that. It's sometimes that reporting is not necessarily accurate, and so I can come in here and make it 15 frames and close that and give that a try, and there we go, it looks better. And so that's how I accomplish that effect. And you can do similar things. You don't necessarily have to, of course, put this in the background. Now, if you have your video in the background, you can have this over on top of it, and things like that. But this is one thing. Now, not all special effect animations play like this, and so you might have to adjust your strategy in order to utilize these. But this is just one fun way to utilize the explosion and special effect techniques, that is, in Animation Mega Foundry.